My name is Ken. I'm a co-founder of Never Settle. As he said, we build enterprise WordPress solutions for business. And I'm going to take the next 12 minutes to hopefully completely change the way that you look at commerce and WooCommerce in particular. This is really a collaboration of our team's journey and innovation. And it started when we stopped looking at WooCommerce as a cart, just as we stopped looking at WordPress as a CMS many years ago. WooCommerce can be a cart, but it's not one, and there's a major difference. So let's get started. To start, we're going to have a shift in our paradigm. Your starting point will absolutely determine the possibility of your destination. And if your starting point is simply that WooCommerce is a cart, you'll never be able to innovate in all the ways that it's not a cart. That's just obvious. So we need a new starting point. And the starting point I'd like you to have, and if you could take one thing away from the conference, from my talk, this is what it would be. It would be that WooCommerce is a platform that can be used to build any commerce solution, not just shopping carts. But to do so will require our collective innovation. So do you know why you do what you do? You probably know what you do, but do you know why you do it? There's a major difference. What you do is where you get your paycheck. Why you do it is where the inspiration and the longevity to see it through to the end will come from. And if you don't know, I highly recommend that you take some time this week and determine that. Because really that's the Achilles heel of this talk, is your ability to innovate. And I think that one of the largest impediments to your and my ability to innovate is the physical limitations that we place inside a limitless environment. The physical world is a terrible guideline to abide by when developing things digitally, because the physical world has limits that don't exist digitally. That's just obvious. When thinking about creating something new, we tend to take limitations of our current environment and develop something for the future, which is a terrible guideline. We also do this where we keep things from the past, and old limitations create artificial ceilings for today. One of my favorite examples of this is the keyboard. The keyboard was invented for the first typewriters. The keyboard started jamming, so they reordered the keys on the keyboard to prevent it from jamming. A side effect was that users' ability to type, their speed, was dramatically reduced. Yet 100 years later, we're still using that same keyboard. It's time to let it go. And for us in this conference, the thing we have to let go of is the shopping cart. That metaphor's got to go. The .com was to take things that were physical and digitize them. That lasted for a couple years, but most of those companies were unsuccessful. And more importantly, we're now 20 years past that point in time. It's time to let it go. We're now moving beyond the metaphors that we're familiar with to do things that only technology can allow us to do that cannot be done in the physical world. So what is commerce? Most people would say that commerce is the exchange of goods and services for money. But it doesn't have to be that one model. We have to start thinking bigger and broader than just limiting ourselves to one box. Instead, we should be asking the question, why does commerce exist? Commerce exists because it's a mechanism of exchange. So let's take a look at 3 companies that are breaking the molds that e-commerce was built on. The first one's Wanilo. Wanilo recognized that where a physical mall has limitations of space, those don't exist digitally. So they built an online mall that houses over 500,000 retailers and independent sellers. It's a Pinterest-type solution where you go and you can pin any product as long as it's a direct link to sell that product, and you can put your own storefront in there. Shopify's already created an integration automatically syncing their store owners' shops to their Wanilo feeds. I'd like to think that one of our great WordPress developers could create the first integration between Wanilo and WooCommerce by the end of this conference. Next. Let's look at retail. Starbucks. You know Starbucks for making coffee shops ubiquitous. But did you know that they're also leading in mobile payment? They've innovated a mobile payment solution that allows their users to pay through their smartphone at any one of their 21,000 locations. And they did this before Apple Pay did. And I'm not talking about going to a web page and putting your credit card in. And while we're looking at physical retail, let's talk about geomarketing. You know geomarketing has been very successful for retailers. But what about taking an existing technology and leveraging it for something new in a new way? What about your online-only shopper, those people that only purchase online but they still live in a physical world? What if you use geomarketing to target them at key locations to create conversions or when they passed a competitor's store? Or what if you were an online-only retailer and you decided to bridge the gap and you made a connection or partnership with a physical retailer? Let's say that you sold online supplements, so you found your local fitness facility. You made a partnership with them so that when they registered a new user or a new member, they automatically got a discount to your online supplements. The point of this is that sometimes new innovation will come from the ground up, but many times new innovation will come from leveraging things in the past. And last but certainly not least is Amazon. You know Amazon for one-click checkout. They recognized many years ago that a user does not need to review their order 3 times before they make a purchase, where they're frequently making purchases and they're comfortable. And they certainly don't need to re-enter their personal details. So they created the one-click checkout, but they haven't stopped there. Amazon has created, or has a goal, what they say merging the online and offline world to create a better shopping experience for their users. 2 examples that are a little bit more relevant and recent that I can think of. The first is the Amazon Fire Phone. This is a device that allows users to go window shopping, and while window shopping, they take a picture of the item they're looking at, they price compare, and then they order online. They get all the benefits of online shopping, but they get the experience of the retail environment. The second one is the Amazon Dash. These are little buttons, or I should start back, the Amazon Dash button, if you've heard of it. It's kind of like Office Depot's Easy button, except for this is real. This is a little button for the items that you commonly order, and when you're running low, simply press the button and it orders a new one for you. And you're probably saying, Ken, this is a fun invention, quirky at best. It's not very innovative. And the reason is because this is a tech-savvy crowd. The idea of you guys making a purchase online is a second thought. But let's put ourselves in the shoes of an average user, someone that's not so comfortable with making an online purchase. Let's say it's a soccer mom. She gets home from a long day of running the kids around, gets home, fires up that old laptop that takes 10 minutes to boot up. Once she gets there, she goes to log on to a website that she can never remember her username and password. She finally gets past that hurdle, and she's going to check out. And as she enters her credit card details, she asks herself, is it really safe to input my credit card on the internet again? By them creating this button, they automatically eliminated all those barriers to entry in one fell swoop. This is massive. This is huge. This is where you see them starting to blur the line between the online and offline world. And they didn't stop there. They kept innovating, and you'll need to as well. What used to be the Amazon Dash, or the button, is now just called the Dash. It's a voice recorder / barcode scanner. Simply say any item that you want or scan any item in your home, and it automatically orders it, and it's delivered next day. Lasting innovation comes from a journey, not just a single idea. But the point of all of that was that the canvas is white and it's waiting to be painted. Gamification in commerce is almost completely untapped. Drip content, membership platforms, cross-channel purchasing, those are all just prime and new, or ways that are prime for new innovation. So how do you innovate? More importantly, how do you apply this to the store that you're running or the product you're developing? We found that the most effective and powerful starting point is what we call the demand intersection. The demand intersection is where 2 birds meet 1 stone. This is where your internal needs align to current market demands to create a lasting innovation. An example of this from our story is that Never Settle owns a company called Osana Bar. Osana is an all-natural mosquito repellent soap, and it's a cause-based company, much like Tom's Shoes. So when someone buys a package of our soap, we ship one overseas to those suffering from malaria and sanitation-based illnesses. There's 1.8 million people that are dying annually because of these preventable diseases. Osana has a mission to eliminate those preventable deaths. And like you, to see our mission successful, we need systems, processes, technology in place that allow us to do so. So we started doing fulfillment out of our garage. It took us about 3 hours to realize that's not a very scalable solution. So we started looking for a partner. And for us, we determined that FBA, or Fulfillment by Amazon, was the best partner for us. So we were obviously already using WooCommerce, and we looked for an integration between the two, but one didn't exist. So 1 week later, we created the first integration and plugin, automatically linking FBA to WooCommerce. Every time an order was made on WooCommerce, it's automatically fulfilled by FBA, and there's a 2-way communication where data is shared. Now, NSFBA for Woo has been the most successful integration and plugin between the two to date, but the point of this is that the simplicity of the idea came from the demand intersection. Don't underestimate this. This is massive. You get the chance to both be the end consumer and the product engineer. The product biases that happen in one role or the other are automatically eliminated. The typical gaps in communication that you see in that relationship are also gone. This allows you to create something that's lasting. And while we're looking at how to innovate, let's take a step back. Let's look at those that innovated before us. Let's look at our founding innovators like Plato and Aristotle. When they went and they innovated the very ways which you and I understand the world, they didn't do so in a classroom. Most people think so, but instead they actually explored the unknown through a process of living out their thoughts, ideas, assumptions with others in community, allowing others to punch holes in their ideas to see what would sink or swim, seeing what would stand the test of reality. And it's no different for you. If you want to innovate, you must get out of the classroom and you must take action. You can no longer think outside the box, you must exist outside the box. If you're looking for a starting point, I highly recommend Lean methodology. It's a great way to launch a product with minimal resources, get it in front of your end consumer, and get instant feedback so you can determine where to invest your time and your resources on a larger scale with continual testing. So as I said in the beginning, where you start matters. Steve Jobs had a different starting point than other computer manufacturing CEOs. Steve Jobs did not see Apple as a computer company. Instead, Steve Jobs saw Apple as a lifestyle brand. And because of that, there's a device that's in many of your pockets that exists today that wouldn't have otherwise. That single device has revolutionized multiple industries, and it's changed the way that humans interact and connect around the world. Your starting point will determine the possibility of your destination. You can no longer view WooCommerce as a cart. And did you know that WooCommerce has over 1 million registered users? And that's not including users from WordPress.org, and that's not including WordPress users. That is a massive, massive community. And that's really the hope and inspiration for us in this room, is that while Apple had Steve Jobs, we have a community of people on our side. And can you imagine what a community of people that had their mindset past seeing WooCommerce as a cart could collectively do together? The types of innovations that we could create. So the real question for you is, will you join me in not looking at WooCommerce as a cart anymore?